Going to a psychologist or somebody who can provide you diagnostic clarity and say, this is what I think is going on, and here are the treatment recommendations is a good first step.
Welcome to Girls Gone Gritty. I'm Farley Boyle, girl mom.
And I'm Jennifer Brenius, boy mom.
Together, we're Team Boyle-Renius. Each other's ride
or die. This is where grit gets real. We don't just talk, we do it.
We're here for the messy stories, the hard-fought lessons, and the courage it takes to keep showing up.
Especially when it's uncomfortable. We bring gratitude and attitude to everything we do.
We jump in head first, unafraid, and are all in all the time.
We bring it on and get it on, diving into unscripted conversations on just about everything.
We don't just talk grit, we live it.
We put the it in grit.
So let's get gritty!
Hi, and welcome to Girls Gone Gritty. We're in Bring It On Studios. I'm with my partner in crime, Jen, and we've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about what June has meant to us thus far.
A little more than a week, but it's been a very full, crazy ride. It's a busy time for people all around the board between proms and birthdays. We also had a family member who passed, and he was iconic. He was the patriarch of the family. He's sorely missed, and it was hard to lose him on the same day as my son's birthday
and Jamie's birthday, her
Jamie's.
brother-in-law's.
But we did a dive into the importance of the energy, and everybody who listens to us knows that we both believe in that, and we think that that was a culmination of life and death coming together, and the beautiful connection that they both had with Uncle Ray continues on. So it's a beautiful day to remember him. I'll never forget when he passed, which is also good because I'm terrible with dates, so I'll remember his passing with my son's birth.
My mom passed on my anniversary.
Right.
And a lot of people I know have left this place and on a very significant day because they don't want you to mourn. They want you to think about the happiness of the day. And obviously my mother was with me when I got married and was witnessing it. So instead of thinking it's a sad day, it brings me joy because she was a part of the moment. And I saw Medium recently. And whether or not you believe in that, I went whether I was going to have an experience that connected me to my parents or not. And the very first thing she said is anybody here belong to William? And I thought, oh, William's such a common name. I don't want to take it as mine. My dad's William J. Snow. And I thought, oh, there's got to be somebody else in this room that has a William. And when I eventually got to my reading, the first thing she said to me is, oh, I know who William belongs to. He belongs to you. And she told me that my parents were together, golfing and playing tennis, two things that they didn't do a whole lot here, is what she said. And I was told that June was going to be a fabulous month. And so far, it's been pretty darn fabulous. My kids are home, a lot of birthdays. And I feel a sense of relief that I heard something positive about my dad, who wasn't necessarily religious, but the way he lived his life was his religion. And it made me feel happy that they're together and they're enjoying where they are.
It's incredible. Gabe has a story the night before his father passed, 4:00 in the morning. And Gabe is one who is definitely a spiritual and religious person, but he, like most, has a little twinge of a intellectual side where he's not certain with 100%. And he awoke at 4:00 in the morning to the most beautiful feeling, and he couldn't put his finger on it, and he said it lasted about a minute, and he knows what ended up happening was that his father came and gave his soul a hug. He felt the presence of his father come into the room and was moved to wake up and felt his dad and let this emotion and this feeling come over him for about a minute, and then he slammed his feet on the ground and was like, that was my father.
You have to be open. You have to believe to receive. And I say this, we can't impress that enough. But if you're open, at the end of my reading, I had this person envelop me in a hug. She's like, I need to hug you. And this hug is from your parents. They want to thank you for all that you did for them when they were sick. And they just wanted you to know that they love you. So it was a beautiful thing. And I'm emotional because it was real.
Yes.
Let yourself, be vulnerable, because if you don't believe, you're not going to connect and you're going to miss some of the beautiful, magical moments.
Yeah, and it's the connection that is so important in life. And it's why we want to tackle our subject with our guest and to identify loneliness. So we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Loneliness versus depression, how to recognize it. We have an incredible guest for you. But let's talk about our top three, which always keep you entertained.
Number 3, All right, here we go. I know you hate when I talk about AI, Farley, but everybody's talking about AI.
Here we go.
The world's first vaccine for pandemics, including possibly corona, flu, and Ebola, was just created by AI.
I understand.
I.
I understand that AI is smarter than us when it's not making mistakes. And it's very capable when it's not being fed by some master manipulator. I don't want to be the test from an AI vaccine. If we truly use AI to benefit mankind and it's smarter and it's capable of doing these mathematical equations and algorithms to cure things, I'm all in. I just feel like there's something sneaky.
Well, it's a challenging subject because the science of medicine is exactly that. It is a science, and when they're breaking down these genomes and trying to figure out these complex equations, AI is going to be able to offer us the opportunity to understand things in a way that we never would. So I do think for some of these complex, variable variants in our society, that you have a different organism that interacts in a different place with a different history, with a different genetic composition. If AI can help us fix all those things, that's great. But to your point, I do get concerned, and everyone is concerned that 5 people are really in charge.
Did AI like create COVID? It's been around for a long time. We're just really talking about it. I am skeptical. I want to believe the good side of AI, and if it's taking people that were paralyzed and helping them to walk again, and taking people that can't see and they can see again, amazing. However, I don't want to be the guinea pig that gets the first injection.
Well, unfortunately, we have been born into a time period where we are the guinea pigs on a lot of things, between social media and technology and the disconnection that we, again, are going to get to later in the episode. This is the universe that we're operating in, so we've got to figure out a way to make it through.
All right.
That brings us to number 2. This is a little bit more fun. Pokemon style game is gamifying the World Cup. Get your sticker books ready, people.
I loved my sticker book as a kid, scratch and sniff and oil ones. Collect all. 980 stickers, World Cup. You can collect your favorite teams, players. It just makes it fun. It's something to collect, and it's something to save. It's a keepsake. And if you're a huge fan, I would think you would want all 980, but it's a challenge, which people are willing to rise to. And I'm sure it probably is a little expensive.
Actually, the card books are $2. It's very much like a Pokemon situation where they're going to limit how many you can purchase at a time. The thing I do love about this is they're making it accessible for almost everybody. They're selling them at corner drugstores, little bodegas across the world. CVS and Walgreens is carrying them here in the United States. And you get what you get. It's a blind draw. You might get the same one 10 times. Certain player may be more challenging to get. I think I'm going to play. I think it's fun.
I like this kind of stuff. I like the Cracker Jacks prize. I wanted the tattoo book. I like to play the Monopoly game at the grocery store. I try to really do it.
Always just one away.
So it's fun. And if you're collecting something that you're enamored by and you're super into the World Cup, bring it on.
Yeah, great. All right. Number 1. Do you know about your kids? Post 2025 birth. These 3 skills to succeed in the world of tomorrow. Farley, what are they?
Being able to adapt, being able to communicate, and being able to use critical thinking.
Sounds like being a human being to me.
We've got to go off of our devices, and we have to recognize that things are changing at the speed of light around us. So if you don't adapt, you get run over. And if you're not able to have a communication stream, we talk about talking to people and communicating all the time. It's a lost art, and you're going to get left in the dust if you can't communicate or advocate for yourself. And then last but not least, critical thinking. You have to be able to think for yourself, and you have to be able to make decisions and come to conclusions on your own. And we can't do it for our kids, and it can't be done for us. We have to develop critical thinking skills. And those are the 3 keys to success moving forward with AI and like lack of job security because of AI and just all these technological advancements that are taking the main stage. You want to be relevant, and to be relevant, those are your 3 keys to success.
The one that I think we need to focus the most on, not because of importance. But the critical thinking, some of that's been eroded already with just simple problem solving, how to get from point A to point B. Because
I'm just going to map quest it or ways. Yeah.
Certain things that are things that we would process and understand from a building block standpoint.
I'm going to Google it and get the answer immediately instead of use my brain to try to figure out what I'm really thinking about that I might be able to pull out of the cobwebs.
Correct. Is the stuff that our kids are not being taught. And when they started to take even simple things like penmanship away, that was something that you had to form letters in a certain way and create sentence structure and have things be spaced properly, articulate yourself in a way on a page with your own thought processes. That was one of the first things that they started to take away that eroded our young kids of critical skills. And hopefully those things are going to come back into vogue, because all of these three things, again, I think keep us uniquely human.
Agreed. I mean, make sure that you impress that. You can't impress those three keys to success more.
No, and those keys will keep you from what we're going to talk to about with our good friend and advocate for the connection of human beings. And all she's trying to do is help people feel more empowered in their day-to-day life, is Ariella Soffer. We are excited to bring her on and discuss loneliness with you today.
Sitting next to me is Dr. Ariella Soffer, who happens to be one of my very good friends, as well as Jen's and my tennis partner.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
She is going to inform us the differences between loneliness, depression, escapism, and how to recognize it. I can't tell you what an invaluable resource she is for me. I go to her with everything. When I was in the trenches with my mom, she was helping me figure out medications and how to help somebody that had severe anxiety on top of a terminal illness. I had several friends that have had kids that have needed therapeutic help. And I run to Ariella with any question that I can't answer on my own, because she's the best person to have in your back pocket. She'll do anything for you. She's super educated and shares the wealth on every level.
It's a very kind introduction. Thank you very much, Far. I'm so happy to be here. And these are two of the best people I know. And I think that you're making such a big difference sharing this gratitude practice with everybody and this basic sense of connection that you're providing to your listeners is a huge gift. So in terms of thinking about loneliness and thinking about loneliness and depression, they're really bidirectional and interconnected. And I agree with something that you said in your last episode on escapism and thinking about loneliness and how COVID had this big impact on us, creating a world where we could live in solitude. And it created worlds where we could work and have a livelihood on our own. It made so many things available to us. And in some ways that's been really harmful, and in some ways really awesome, right? And it's really opened up a lot of doors for people. And the difference we see is how people are using it. When somebody is lonely versus when somebody's depressed, they feel lonely. They're either choosing not to be around people or being reclusive. They're just not in the mood. Maybe they're feeling down that particular week or day or whatever it is, or they're just sort of in the mood to be in solitude. That's not a bad thing inherently. Or you just move to a new place and you are feeling lonely because that's actually the state that you're in, but it's a temporary state. It doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to not feel lonely. When somebody's depressed, they've developed a cognitive structure, like a way of thinking that makes them feel like people don't like me. My future's not bright. Nobody thinks positively about me. I don't think positively about myself. And that tends to lead to social withdrawal. So it makes people even more withdrawn and lonely. But it's also the capacity to not be able to feel connected. And that's really the big difference, is the capacity to feel alone. If you can think about it like a metaphor, if I have a hunger pain, I eat something and then I feel better, right? I got here today and I was starving. I ate something and I feel fine now. But if I was depressed and I had that hunger pain and I ate something, I'm still depressed. And so that's really like the big difference, right, between the two things, right? Like I can escape and there can be healthy escapism, like you're reading a book, watching TV, going to a remote island and surfing for a week. But at the end of the day, I can come back and be in my reality.
Right.
And so that's really where the difference lies.
And can loneliness lead to depression? Is that a slippery slope, being an introvert or an extrovert? Certain people that are introverts don't need people for energy. At least that's the way I understand it. And then there's extroverts. If they are finding themselves in loneliness, they need people in order to fuel their happiness. The
Yeah.
opposite of loneliness? Maybe not.
I don't know if I would think about it as the opposite, but I think your point is a really good one, which is how do I know when there's a problem? How do I know when there's a distinction? Some people are more introverted and some more extroverted. Like if you weren't around people for a whole week, it would be a problem. We would all know that something
She would be a
was
wilted
wrong.
flower.
Right.
And
Like
I would know.
you
in
need
1 second.
people to fill your social battery. I am like that too. I think
I am
you're
too.
like that too.
Yep.
But other people aren't. That's just how they are. So when we talk to a parent or a friend or to a partner, I think I might be concerned about this person. It's always about change from baseline. So if you're concerned about somebody, or I'm not sure if something's wrong, what are they usually like? And are they more withdrawn than normal? Are you noticing other things? Changes in sleep, changes in appetite? Are there changes in weight? Are there changes in the way that they're engaging? Are they making statements about how they might not be around for that long? Are they giving away possessions? Are they seeming like they aren't caring about things in the same way? Any change that you think might be relevant or registers for you probably is important to hang on to. Any conglomeration of changes in particular is an important thing.
Even a change in friend group. Like if
100%.
you like all of a sudden you're not friends with the same person anymore. There's a lot of red flags. You don't want to be asleep at the wheel, but you also don't want to overanalyze when you're not a doctor and impress something upon somebody that becomes feeded energy. I don't want to feed things energy sometimes either, because I don't want it to grow.
I think that is a fear that a lot of people have. If I say to you, Farley, I think, there's something up, that's going to make you feel a certain way. If you're concerned about someone, reference yourself. I noticed that you didn't call me back 6 times. You didn't respond to my last 7 text messages, and that's unusual for you. I'm concerned about you. And I just wanted to check in.
You've done that
right?
to me before.
I've done that to you before.
Yes.
And usually it's
You're
because
right.
you're underwater and feel like your usual superwoman skills aren't working. Or I know if Jen reaches out to me and she's like, I need a one-on-one time, I know she's got a lot piling on her and I'm happy to go meet up for a drink. There's certain cues that people have, right? But most of the time when you're talking about somebody that you have a relationship with and you're expressing, I want to connect with you, I want to help you, it's coming from a good place. It can't cause something. Somebody might react negatively,
I
but
can
that
talk
doesn't
about
mean
getting
it
a
causes
cold sore, and then I can get one. But it's not like that.
It's not the same. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like psychosomatic.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, another problem I consider to be an obstacle, and I know so many people, when they're in a situation and they're looking for help, they don't know how to navigate those waters because there's a lot of different types of therapy available and types of doctors, and you can't have one without the other. If you need some type of medication prescribed, you're going to have to start off with a psychologist who's going to give you a diagnosis, and then she's going to pass you to a psychiatrist because the psychiatrist can write the script. But in a situation where you recognize somebody that you care for is in the need of something, how do you navigate that?
I think you just said the best case scenario. Somebody first starts with diagnostic clarity. Going to a psychologist or somebody who can provide you diagnostic clarity and say, this is what I think is going on, and here are the treatment recommendations, is a good first step. So somebody who's depressed or somebody who's anxious, there's a lot of different options, and it kind of depends on the person and what's going on. So let's just take a phobia. Somebody has a fear of flying. And depending on how much that's inhibiting your life, depending on how severe it is, depending on how insightful you are, how willing you are to engage in therapy, there's a lot of factors. I would say if somebody's never been in therapy before, they're willing to do some exposure treatment. That's the gold standard for treatment. But somebody should probably educate you about what the options are. A psychiatrist is somebody who can prescribe medication. They will approach it from the medication standpoint. Just like if you go to a surgeon for a shoulder issue, they're going to think about it from a surgery perspective, but there might be non-surgical options. So if you want to understand all of the options, go to somebody like a psychologist who's going to be able to provide all the options, and then you make the decision about what you want to do first.
So you don't necessarily need a psychiatrist.
No.
You don't necessarily need a psychologist,
Right.
but they give you the optionality of medicine and, like you said, some health piece.
Yeah.
And you're giving them practical tools
Correct.
that can circumvent the need for surgery.
I would say the biggest lesson I would give to the consumer is make sure that the provider you're going to in the mental health world is equipped with diagnostic tools, because many are and many aren't. It's about the kind of training that they have. And that's going to guide how equipped they are to explain what's going on with me. How do you know that? And what are the different ways that I can get treated for this?
So an example of a diagnostic tool that you could share with our audience?
Sure. So like in our practice, when somebody comes in, we take 2 sessions to do a thorough interview, which is a lot of question and answer. And then a lot of times we will use paper pencil metrics, because people will reveal different things in some of those tools that are symptom inventories. And then we'll give them a feedback session that will say something along the lines of, so it looks like you have some avoidance symptoms, and that can be part of depression. It can be part of an attention concern. It can be part of anxiety. And we think that that's, let's just say it's somebody who seems like they're depressed. They've been isolating themselves, and it turns out that they've been using alcohol to self-medicate, right? So our recommendation might be, we need to first address the substance use and help you learn different coping mechanisms while also helping you to treat your depression. And we might say, you probably need some medication for your depression, but going to the psychiatrist with our recommendation is going to also make that medication referral a lot easier for the psychiatrist. Otherwise, they don't really know what they're treating.
I feel like you say the word psychologist or psychiatrist and people get like, oh, I just want therapy. I just want a therapist.
Right.
So some people might dip their toe in with a therapy session or counseling of some sort. And then when they recognize that they need to go up the ladder, it's almost like when you get injured, you go to the doctors and they automatically do an x-ray. And then from the x-ray, you can go get the MRI. It's like a path. Some people are too scared to admit that they need the help of a psychologist, or that they might need the help of a psychiatrist, because even though we're in a therapy generation and have been for quite a long time, some people look at it as a weakness.
And I think that the mental health piece is so much more complicated for people to understand. And a lot of people feel that they should be able to figure it out. I have many friends that say, why would I go talk to somebody? I have friends for that. And I understand that ideology. There's some value in that, right? At least, like, to me, at least if you're talking to someone, that's step one. But if you're having the same conversation over and over again, and like you said, that the triggers are the same and you're seeing repeated patterns of things, then maybe elevating the game is an important thing to do.
At the end of the day, a psychologist is also a therapist. I have many people that I've been seeing for therapy for long periods of time. That is one yield of a recommendation. It looks like you are wanting to talk to somebody about things that are going on in your life. View this like physical therapy. Some people go to physical therapy once a week because they're really avid tennis players and they have chronic issues. I know some of those, right? And that's just part of their maintenance. And a lot of people use therapy like that. And they can and they should.
You have to be honest in therapy. And that's the thing. I feel like my relationships, my friendships, I'm very blessed. I can be very honest. You know, I will lament to Jen about whatever it is. And I do feel like it's a therapeutic session. I can call you when I really feel like I need an answer or I need some type of a direction. And I know that I'm going to get that answer from an expert, but you have to be honest. It doesn't make you vulnerable. I feel like you have to be willing to be introspective, that you just say what you're thinking. And that's the only way that you're going to really receive the help that you need. And don't be embarrassed. That's why don't think that you can be the therapist for your kids or for your friends. Sometimes it's so much deeper and we're not equipped to truly help. And that's
we're also not unbiased.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But do you think, and you know, everybody's talking about this is like the epidemic of loneliness. Are you seeing in your practice, and obviously you can't speak to individual patients, but as a whole, are you seeing what we're reading about, where because of technology and an offshoot of COVID, the acceptance of people being on a screen and on a Zoom and not leaving their house all day has become normalized? Are you seeing that heavier in your practice on a day-to-day?
So yes and no. I think that we see both sides of it. And this is something we've talked about a fair amount. I think it's definitely exacerbated in people where it would have been problematic anyway, like where they would have isolated themselves. There's so many ways that they can can isolate further and more deeply and chronically and sustain that life. And it becomes so much more entrenched and harder to treat for us and harder for people to identify. So absolutely. I think in some ways, and this is something that I feel like is more overlooked, and I don't know what the balance is, but I know that there are people that are researching this, but there are some populations of people that it's actually opened up connection. So we have some folks that we've treated where they are very introverted or they lack social skills, and there are ways to connect and experiment with connection online before they know how to or are ready to go out into the world and connect. And that didn't exist before. Or their job avenues make things more accessible. We don't live in an area where in-person socialization is not possible. We live in a very metropolitan area, but there are parts of the country where that's not the case. So I think we see both sides, but it absolutely has made it easier for people to live very isolated lives and for them to hear themselves in an echo chamber.
I completely agree with that. And I have read some studies that say that even modern suburban life, though, become more disconnected because people live in a home, they get in their car, they go to a store, they may not engage with people, and they get back in the car and they go back to work. Like, yes, they're interacting with people, but there's not an actual connection. So somebody can be arguably social, meaning they go out and about, but they can still suffer from loneliness because they're not making a connection because of the way the modern suburban living is. Unlike if you live in New York City, you walk out your apartment, you get your cup of coffee from the same guy every day, you walk down the street, say hi to a few people, you have an inherent community in some of these metropolitan areas that may not exist or have been eroded, I think, due in fact to COVID. And just the way that in order to participate in a lot of things in modern society, there is pay to play. You have to belong to a club or you need to belong to a team. And most of those things are created in a financial vacuum. So I think that's part of loneliness that can get lost where people don't feel
what
seen.
Defines you? You know, like what defines your socialization?
Correct.
Are you a member of a club? Do you play mahjong? There's so many different ways, but you do have to be invited,
you have to seek it out,
included, or accepted.
Yeah, and seek it out. I think that's a good point. Like some people seek out connection, like the story on the last episode about the cashier was really, she created a community, and the man who asked her to write something on the receipt created a sense of community for himself. I think some people have that because they might be lonely, but they don't lack that capacity to feel connected. And I think that's where the difference really lies. And so it hinges on the ability to connect, like the desire and ability to connect.
With the technology piece, do you see a difference in communication skills from 20 years ago when you began doing this? Or is there a breakdown of communication skills with the younger generation that you're trying to help now?
You know, I don't know. I'm not convinced of that entirely.
That's great.
Good.
That's great.
Yeah,
I like that answer.
So
Me too.
but I will be honest. I worked in college mental health for a long time in the beginning of my career. So we have used FaceTime, Zoom, those things for therapy for way longer than COVID existed. And what I find most interesting about the research in therapeutic intervention and how effective it is in terms of in-person versus virtual is that it's not the modality. It's not whether it's in person or virtual. It's how effective the clinician is. Some people are good and some people aren't. And whether they're delivering it online or in person, it doesn't matter. It's somebody's ability to connect. I think some people are just inherently better and more skilled at it than others. So
do some of your patients want to be seen, meaning like a Zoom, and then others opt to be on a regular phone call?
Yeah, we really discourage phone sessions versus video. I just think you lose a lot in not being able to see
body language
and facial expressions and things like that. So it's really rare that we have phone sessions. But yeah, there are times, I mean, for example, like Freudian analysis, not even just Freudian, but analysis, people are lying down because it does open up some people to be able to speak more freely. So there is an argument, and there are some patients that I've treated too, and that are being treated in my practice where they really do open up more if there's no eye contact, if they can be relaxed. So it really depends.
The couch motto or the model.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wait, so your parents,
My
talk a
parents
little
are
bit about your
both
parents.
analysts. Yeah. So they were both trained as analysts and believe that the unconscious is really the tool that guides the problems that somebody's facing. And I also believe that there's like a lot of power in understanding the unconscious. We treat from a much more integrative perspective, but we don't ignore the fact that people are individuals and they have an unconscious motivation too, right? It depends on what's the priority in treatment. And again, what's the most important thing to treat at a given time.
I am recognizing, like she said, changes in behavior.
Yeah.
And being willing to take a step forward because you're concerned, and don't be afraid to have a conversation on behalf of somebody that you care about. This is why we're communicating, and this is why we brought in an expert.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for being so aware of these important issues.
And if anybody needs help and would like to talk to somebody, Dr. Soffer, would you tell us about your business, please?
Sure. I own a group practice. It's both in Fairhaven, New Jersey and in Manhattan. And we treat children through the geriatric population. And we have a relationship with different graduate school programs. So we offer sliding scale fees. And we also help people connect with other providers or institutions if they need help.
And your rebranding is going to be...
We're rebranding soon as the Collective Minds. We are currently called Soffer and Associates.
I like it. Collective mind. It takes a village.
That's what we need. We need each other, and we need connection. And if you have somebody who's suffering from loneliness, depression, withdrawal, and share this podcast, and that could be your first step, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's the power of connection. It can be that little bit that just puts them in the right direction to get them to open up.
We just happen to be blessed that we have a friend that is very capable, but I try not to take advantage of our relationship.
You never do.
But it's funny.
You give me a lot too.
And she analyzes me quite often as well. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm doing a little N of one study.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for being willing to come on and share your expertise.
Absolutely.
Ariella is a hard act to follow, but we have an amazing Got Grit Award recipient that is going to try to follow.
Well, no one can literally follow in this woman's footsteps because unfortunately she's a double amputee.
I mean, but
it's not funny, but it's the truth. And this woman's story is unbelievable. This is Mandy Horvath. My son and his girlfriend were able to meet at Mountain Film. She has an incredible movie out that is called The Ascent. And this woman scaling mountains on her hands because she was a double amputee who was a survivor of a terrible incident. She was 21 years old and she was out with some proverbial friends and ended up thinking she got her drink spiked and was laying by the train tracks and that's how she lost her legs. Horrible. She died 3 times on the way to the hospital. They had to resuscitate her 3 times. She ended up surviving, obviously, and dedicated her life to figuring out how to make herself feel strong and to be able to climb and tackle anything that she could. So she began hiking, and she would be so angry when people wanted to try and help her and carry her up the mountain. And she said, no, absolutely not. F you, I'm doing this on my own.
Can you imagine how strong not only her brain for wanting to do this, but her arms and the physical strength that she has in her upper body?
She's unbelievable. She summited not only Pikes Peak, but summited Mount Kilimanjaro. And in this documentary, The Ascent, it takes you through her entire story and the legacy she's left behind by being an advocate for people with disability and shares a message of caution and resilience for women worldwide. She really feels that she was a victim of violence. She was either drugged or roofied and woke up next to a train track with no legs. So that's
insane.
Movie I have yet to see. It's not out for public consumption yet, but it should be soon because it just was in Telluride Mountain Film Festival. So incredible story that I don't think can be topped. Literally.
I love
she's amazing.
I love these stories. I love the wrestler movie that, he had no legs and he ended up winning, the state championship and went on to do amazing things. The power of the mind is really incredible. I am going to read the first two lyrics of a song that I love, and I think that you're going to love it too. A great big bang and dinosaurs, fiery raining meteors. It all ends, unfortunately, but you're going to live forever in me. I guarantee. Just wait and see. Parts of me were made by you, and planets keep their distance too. The moon's got a grip on the sea, and you're going to live forever in me. I guarantee it's your destiny.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And you know it.
Oh my God.
It's You're Going to Live Forever in Me, John Mayer.
Oh my gosh, he's just.
It's so
the most
beautiful.
incredible.
It is like the most melodic, just, it's haunting. It's a beautiful melody. But the lyrics, they're just, life is full of sweet mistakes. Wait a minute. Life is full of sweet mistakes, and love's an honest one to make. Time leaves no fruit on the tree, but you're going to live forever in me.
Oh, I love that. I love John Mayer. He's just so amazing. And what he did to bring back the Grateful Dead to a whole new generation was incredible. And he just,
and now the Deadheads
like cool.
respect him, think he's cool.
Everybody thinks
My
he's
husband used to be like, I'm a seller of that guy, until they heard him rip on a guitar.
Until they saw who he really was.
Yeah.
He's beautiful, and it was Your Body is a Wonderland, and they thought he was a sex symbol for like you and I far.
Yeah.
And then they realized the musician that
He's a
he
musician.
is, and the depth of character he has.
Totally.
So, all right. Well, we hope that you'll tune into that playlist, and hopefully tune into The Ascent at some point, playing in theaters. And if you haven't yet, put it on your calendar for seeing our movie with Steven Spielberg. And if you haven't yet seen the Steven Spielberg movie, go to the movies and see The Disclosure. Make some connections with people that you know and love, and get somebody that you think might be lonely and take them to the movies, take them on a walk. Find the time to be with the people you love.
And don't be afraid to reach out and get some education from somebody that might be a little more equipped to help out. Seeking therapy, a psychologist, a psychiatrist is not a weakness. It's actually smart. It's being educated. So if you recognize that somebody needs a little extra help and you can't be the person that gives it to them, walk through some door, and I guarantee you'll be received with welcome arms.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Girls Gone Gritty.
See you Thursday.
Peace out. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Girls Gone Gritty.
Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok.
If this episode hits home, share it with someone who needs to get gritty.
Own it and put the it in grit.
See you next episode.